Those oil rigs, you're just repairing them because they're underwater in the sea, right? And those things, they'll start crusting up. They'll get rusty. They'll get holes naturally from it. And the underwater welder's job is to go repair those holes at those depths.
Hey, yo, welcome back to another episode.
Welcome.
In today's episode, we're going to be discussing all about MJ Keenan over here.
Hello, I'm MJ.
Hello, my name's Brendan Nago.
I'm Colin.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yep, nice to meet
Not
you.
that I haven't already met you guys.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm MJ Keenan. I'm a senior at Bellevue High School. And
Very boring.
yeah, I mean, I wrestle, I play baseball. Yeah, I kind of just live a normal life, I guess. So nothing to it.
What do you guys want to talk about today?
That's up to you guys. I'm just your guest.
Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about like some unique career paths that a lot of people don't really know about that are on here?
Yeah, so I was looking at becoming an underwater welder, which is pretty much just as it sounds. You're welding underwater.
I don't know what welding means.
So welding is you got two pieces of metal, you put them together, and you got this really hot torch, and you just kind of mesh them together, I guess.
Why is that be underwater though?
So underwater pays more. So your normal standard welder is going to be making about $60,000 a year. Nothing too crazy, huh? Yeah, like starting 60. You can make up to 100, I guess, if you're working on big jobs. But it's more of you get paid per your job. It's not really a contract or not like a long-term thing. So you have your short little contracts, but underwater welders starting $120,000 a year. So
What's like the requirements for that?
So the requirements for it, you have to complete an apprenticeship. Obviously, you have to know how to weld, and you need to be well versed in MIG, TIG, plasma welding, all sorts of types of welding. You also need to become commercial diving certified, which is there's a program out it's Puget Sound Technical Institute. There's a commercial diving program. It's a 7-month long course, and basically it gets you certified to be able to go underwater on those commercial jobs for up to 150 meters. And what you'll be doing is normally it's out on, like, you can do docks and whatnot and all sorts of things, but the big stuff, those are on oil rigs. And when you go to those oil rigs, you're just repairing them because they're underwater in the sea, right? And those things, they'll start crusting up. They'll get rusty. They'll get holes naturally from it. And the underwater welder's job is to go repair those holes at those depths. And that can be very, very dangerous. Underwater welding comes with a 15% mortality rate. So there's a 15% chance you can die. And I can get into that if you want me to.
Yeah. Can you touch a little bit on like the details, of course, just about like what people die from and also how this contributes to the salary?
Yeah, so since there's such a high mortality rate, that obviously not many people are going to want to do that job, knowing what it comes with. And that's why the demand just goes up and the wages just go up and up and up. And so what happens is there's a thing called the bends. And basically that's what happens is you're down deep in the water, and the pressure, because you have all that water on top of you, the pressure just keeps increasing and increasing. And what'll happen is if you go up too fast, your lungs won't be able to react to that pressure, and they'll basically implode. And so what happens is there's a pressurized tank that you have to get to. It's about 50 meters, and it'll kind of depressurize you, and you have to sit in there for a couple hours. And yeah, basically, so if you go up too quick, if you like ascend too quick from your depth that you go to, your lungs will implode, and then boom, you're dead. So
all you need to do is just not go up too quick.
Yeah, I guess it's basically, it's all just timing and stuff.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about like the scuba, like just general like scuba pressure dynamics? And that seems very interesting. I'd like to know more about that.
So I actually don't know a ton about that, But my buddy Riley here does know a ton about that. So if you want to, Riley, you want to come over here and tell us a little bit about that pressure dynamics? So we're just gonna here.
Can he be seen on that side?
It doesn't.
I think it does matter. He should be seen.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just gonna move that chair over here.
Oh shoot.
Big old noises.
Casey. Yeah. All right.
This is gonna be
cool.
cut and edited, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can you introduce yourself and tell you why we just brought you on?
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm a junior at Bellevue High School, and I'm a certified scuba diver.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the bends
So,
and what'll happen.
Essentially, it's called the danger zone, right? So if you're coming up too fast, all that pressure, like MJ was saying, is going to essentially make your lungs and your body explode. It's also the same thing going down. So if you're right, so if you think of like the submarine with the Titanic, when they're going down, right, they're staying down there for a lot and there's like a lot of pressure right at the bottom. I mean,
Yeah, you got all that water just sitting on. Imagine having thousands and thousands of pounds of
It's
water.
very heavy, right?
Yeah,
it
a
is
lot.
very heavy. And so like when you're going down, you have to take what's called our rest breaks, and that's where if you're going down, I mean, typically going 5 to 10 meters at a time, and then you sort of just swim around for maybe 15 minutes just to let your body naturally compensate for the pressure, and then you make another dive, and then you rest stop again. But what that's allowing your body to do is naturally, like, it's naturally, what is the word?
Adjusting?
Yeah, adjusting.
Adaptation, right?
Yeah. And so even though there's all that pressure, your body is very slowly adjusting to it, which is why, which is why you just don't go down straight, right? Because if you, all of a sudden, you just drop down 50 meters, I mean,
That's like having 6 Rileys jump on top of you. You gotta cut that out.
All right. But
For reference, what's your general weight range?
I'm around 230 right now. So
that's like having like a grand.
that's like
1,000 pounds.
That's like over 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. So.
Yeah, and so when you're going down too fast, if your body's not able to compensate with all the pressure at the same time, I mean, it's how the submarine with the Titanic went. It just crumples immediately.
It's like you take a can and then you crush it. That's basically what happens.
And then it's also the same thing with your head and your ears. Is how typically like on a passenger plane, right? You have blow through your ears, in quotes.
Yeah.
But
Releases the pressure.
Exactly.
It's basically like that, but underwater. So in the passenger planes, they have, when they say pressurizing the cabin or whatever, they're creating airflow or whatever. They're creating the pressure that would simulate being down low or like on normal sea level. But instead you're however many feet in the air, you're a couple miles in the air or whatever.
Exactly. And so, right, if you're having to pressurize, right, that's why we take our rest breaks. Like that's why we're swimming, so we can naturally let our body do that. But then back to what the ear stuff is, we still do that underwater. So there's a way, it's not very complicated. It's just hard to explain. Essentially, you push on your mask and you hold your nose and then you blow out your ears, and that sort of helps mitigate the pressure. But you can't do that if you're like 50 meters down. I mean, there's too much pressure pushing in on your head, and to where the point if your body, right, if you're in that, oh my God, now there's a couple thousand pounds of pressure on me, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And then you start hyperventilating, and then
So it's all just controlling your breathing and
Exactly.
making sure you're breathing right. So
Or
if like one wrong breath while you're that deep, you're done.
Yeah.
You're
And-
donezo.
like on his breath stuff, I mean, there's a super basic rule in scuba diving, and that's don't hold your breath, because the nitrogen in your body and then the tank starts to build up. And then even if it's for 10 seconds and you hold your breath, if you see something cool, you will implode.
Yeah,
It's-
or scary. Like you see a shark and you hold your breath, you're donezo.
Yeah.
That
and
shark is you're that shark's food.
It is sudden. It is very, very sudden. And so it is really hard to,
It's pretty dang dangerous.
it is very dangerous.
Are oxygen emergencies pretty common when it comes to this?
I
if
wouldn't say
you're
typically. That's why we have reserve tanks.
Yeah.
And we have a couple
You
gauges
have-
on us and stuff that
Yeah,
helps us identify.
And so the job of the underwater welder is to just weld underwater. You have people mitigating that They're the pressure in your tanks and how much oxygen's in there, and they make sure that you have enough for your dive. And then you have watches and telling you to get the heck up, you know.
Yeah.
So they have stuff in place to make sure you're safe and don't run out of that oxygen.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is when you're underwater, there's not a lot of, you don't feel a lot of weight. It's sort of like you're in zero gravity.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though you have 70 to 200 pounds worth of gear, depending on what you're doing,
You're still floating.
you float. You don't really feel anything. I mean, it's like carrying a backpack around school in that way, and in that sense. But it's
It's
really
like being
not-
an astronaut
Yeah,
underwater.
it really is. But getting out's the worst part, because then, right, you have no water and everything's waterlogged. So it feels
Yeah.
like you have like 1,000 pounds on your back. So you're trying to walk up the beach or get on back into a boat, and you constantly are falling backwards. It's the funniest thing watching people.
And that's why rigs will have like almost elevators coming from the water. So it's you can't climb out of there. Those rigs are suspended. They're like 50 feet, 75 feet in the air. So you can't really climb up that. So they'll have elevators to come
like
get you.
What MJ was saying is, the brigs go all the way down to the seafloor. And so while a diver, right, they're going to have to make those safety stops on the way up. So, it will easily take them over 3 hours to go up from
Yeah.
150, 200 meters. Like, it's
At least you're getting paid for those 3
exactly.
hours.
Well, yeah. Once you start getting good, you're making 250 grand a year. So,
Exactly. It's just easy money. So starting wage, just welding's underwater welding's very lucrative business, but it's also a very dangerous business.
yeah, same with normal welding too.
Yeah.
You're inhaling all the tons
All
of
those
gas.
fumes and everything. So, but it's not as dangerous. That's where the intense danger comes. Is
Yeah.
the bends.
Yeah.
That's the real danger there.
Yeah. Well, and then if you make one wrong move, the whole thing could start collapsing, and now you're
You're really messed up.
Yeah.
You're really screwed. So yeah.
Okay, how can people get better at, like, how can people learn more about underwater welding and get into this type of business and this type of contracting?
Honestly, it's all just like within your work. If you do good work, you're gonna get more noticed. You're gonna get more job offers. You're gonna be able to go around more places. And the thing about this is not many people want to do it because you're gonna be living on that oil rig for however many months your job is. You're not gonna be able to. They're not gonna boat you in and out every day. That's
No, it's
that's
gonna be
pretty
like
stupid.
2 months on, 6 months off, sort of
Exactly, because you don't want to risk working a year round, and then that just increases your chances.
Thing. Yeah,
So
15% per day.
yeah, exactly. That's why those underwater welders are only working a handful of months out of the year, and then they just go finish they do their other work in the fab shops.
Yeah,
And by fab shop, that's a fabrication shop.
they make stuff.
Yeah, they make stuff like structural integrity stuff. There's some piping and whatnot. There's like archways, and
I'd say the main thing is probably consistency.
yeah.
So what I mean to say is, what would separate like a mediocre underwater welder from someone who's more experienced and makes more money?
Consistency.
Literally,
Like
it's
if
just
if your welds are spotty, but then you have a good patch, and then it's a big bad patch, and then it's a good patch, and then bad patch.
if you're consistent with your welds and they stay nice and firm and stay in place, then you should be golden.
Yeah.
The point of the welds is like repair the oil rigs, right?
Yeah, it's just to repair the structural integrity, make sure it's still staying in place, and nothing's going wrong, and you don't want that thing collapsing, because if the patch gets too big, then bam, oil rig collapses, everything falls down, no more oil, lots more money to repair it.
How do they like ensure that like your welds are good? Like, do they have someone go down and like test or something?
It's typically the test of time.
Yeah, it's literally just the test of time.
Yeah,
So like
they-
if you cause the entire thing to fall, it's like
Yeah,
did I get to figure? They have to figure out which one of you like did the weld.
Yeah, it's you usually only have a couple of welders.
Yeah, and all of
Well,
them
on
go
the
through.
rig.
Intensive certification.
Yeah, so usually you don't have to actually worry about those welds.
And typically, like, the welders get called out before the weld or the hole gets too big, and so that way there's a chance to repair it.
Yeah.
and they're not just waiting and waiting.
What happens if like there's no more chance to repair it? Like, do they abandon the rig?
Then you abandon the rig. You get
Get the
out of
heck
there.
off. You get the heck out of there.
Okay, so can you explain to me what an example year in the life of an underwater welder is, and even like an example life of what an underwater welder is, from the time they start underwater welding to the time they retire? Would you like to walk us through that?
So yeah, no, you'll be working. Let's say you get your job. You're working on the Gulf of Mexico, right? You got this pretty
Gulf of America
right now.
Gulf of America.
Yes.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Gulf of America. Yeah, Gulf of America. That's pretty cool. I'm still getting used to that. Yeah, so you're working, let's say you got a 2-month contract. You're working on that rig, you're living on that rig, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're going to the bathroom off the rig. Number one, of course, but
What you mean? You can make little drops and stuff.
yeah, I mean, I guess there might be a little hole. I don't know, but anyways, yeah, you're doing everything on that rig for those 2 months, and then you're done. You finish your job, you're off of there. You get your money, you're out of there. You go back home. You do whatever. I mean, you look for your next job. If you want to go back onto the rigs, you want to go do something. You're waiting for that call. But while you're doing that, my personal plan would be to work in a fabrication shop while I'm waiting, just so I have something to do, some money to make. So I'm not just waiting for that next job, And I don't want it to be super, like if I'm doing that all the time, it's just that danger level increases. So I don't really want that. I would just be doing it part-time out of the year.
Wait, so is a fabrication shop like particularly related to underwater welding?
No, but it's welding. That's what it is. So it's just furthering your skill set in the front of welding. And yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of just do that until you got enough money to retire, and then you retire, and then you go live on a golf course.
Well, at that point, I mean, it's only going to be like 10 years at that salary.
Yeah, exactly. But you never know. No, money talks. So you might just want to keep going and going
you
and
just
going.
don't got a job for the whole time you're off the rig. I mean, you're just going to be spending that so fast.
I'm interested about like the mortality rate. Like, is it mostly like the novice, like the new guys, or the
No, it can happen to everybody. But the longer you've been doing it, the more comfortable you become, and the more the more you become. What's the word?
experienced?
Yeah, the more experienced you become, the
Easier it is for
easier. Yeah, like the less.
anxiety.
I don't know how to explain it. It's like the more you do it, the better you get at it. So you don't have to really worry about it. It's more those new guys that are going down to those depths.
With a lot of anxiety down there.
They usually have like someone like follow with them for the first time.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. I'm honestly not sure. During your certification, you'll obviously have people going down with you. But
I mean, I wouldn't just throw some
once you
20-year-old down in the ocean 50 years and say, have fun. I mean,
once you get that big job, you're generally able to, like, they think you're able to do it yourself, so you do it yourself.
But I will say, like, same thing for regular welding on land, but, you're inhaling fumes the whole time. And so, even though you might have more experience, you will start to have more health issues.
What kind of fumes do you inhale?
I mean, in regular welding, there's a lot of iron, argon, a lot of nitrogen, especially when scuba diving.
Titanium.
I mean, anything that the rigs...
Any metal.
Do they do anything to prevent that?
It's more of just limiting exposure.
You got masks, but ain't no way to wear
I
them.
mean,
You just cover your face a little bit.
yeah, I mean, there's
Nobody really cares.
when you're scuba diving, there's a lot of nitrogen in the tank, right? And that's because when you inhale nitrogen, right, you sort of get that. I mean, less anxiety, I'd say, and so that sort of, even though it helps you calm down, it's not really, especially for sustained. Like if you're going down for 6 or 7 hours at a time, I mean, very small amounts of nitrogen every breath. I mean, it starts to add fast.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes when divers come out of the water, they'll be lightheaded. Because you've had so much nitrogen in your body, especially on longer dives.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys have any final messages to add?
I mean, do what you want to do, but if you're gonna do this, you just gotta know you're gonna want to do this.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it. You can't just you can't.
You gotta know what you're getting yourself
You can't.
into.
I'm gonna swear a little bit here. You can't half-ass this stuff. Like you gotta do it if you're gonna do it.
All right. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.